One day, my husband disappeared without a trace. It was only several days later that I found out he had run off with my sister. 12 years have passed since then. After a long silence, my husband contacted me with an audacious demand. I'm coming home with my new wife. You are in the way. Leave my parents' house. Apparently, he doesn't want to see me, who is still living with his parents. 12 years after eloping, the dust settled. He probably plans to bring my sister home as his new wife. But they don't know. They don't know how much the feelings of the entire family, including mine, have changed in these 12 years. My name is Sophia. I'm 27 years old. I majored in design in college, and after graduation, I joined a web production company. While leading an ordinary working life, I met my husband, John, when I was 25. He worked in sales at the company, and due to the nature of his job, he was very friendly. Attracted by his approachable demeanor, we dated for a year and got married the following year. Upon registering our marriage, we started living with his parents, and I quit the web production company to work as a freelance designer. I chose to work from home, supporting my husband's life while doing house chores. At first, there were hardly any jobs and the income was unstable. However, lately I have been receiving projects from various places and earning a sufficient income. I work at my own pace and prioritize my family first. In the morning and evening, I eat with my husband and in-laws, and before going to bed, I enjoy some quality time with my husband. I was very satisfied with my current life. However, at some point, my once kind husband began to change little by little. The trigger was 2 months ago when my income surpassed my previous salary. I was so happy to reach my target that I was restless all day. I couldn't wait to tell my husband. I was sure he would be happy too. I rushed to the entrance as soon as my husband came home and told him the good news with a beaming face. John, guess what? My income last month exceeded my old company's salary. Really? That can't be true. Your company paid pretty well, right? Yes, but surprisingly, that was always my goal, and my wish finally came true. Oh, is that so? Is that all? What would you prefer if I said, well, congratulations? My husband was unusually sullen and sarcastic. I couldn't understand why he was so upset, so I asked him directly. Hey John, are you hungry? I thought you'd be happy for me. Huh, why would I be happy? It's not like my salary has increased. Well, that's true, but isn't a wife's joy also a husband's joy? What's that supposed to mean? I'm not one of those cheerful guys. Don't lump me in with them. John. From that day on, his attitude became more and more indifferent. Our everyday conversations diminished, and it was always me who greeted him with good morning and good night. Even though we've only been married for a year, our marriage is far from a happy one. His parents, with whom we live, began to notice our strained relationship, but out of consideration, they said nothing. 2 months later, our relationship remained unchanged. Although we ate our meals at the same time, there was hardly any conversation. He would change the TV channel I was watching without a word and eat the food I bought without asking. If I objected, his response was always amplified, so I maintained my silence. One day, amidst those tense days, my mother-in-law started a conversation with an anxious look on her face as I was cleaning the house. Sophia, are you okay? Huh? What do you mean by okay? Oh, well, when you first got married, you used to go out with my son a lot, but lately there is none of that, right? Not only that, but it seems like there is hardly any conversation either. Well, that's true. It's strange, isn't it? You've only been married for a year. I forced a smile, not wanting to worry my mother-in-law. However, it seems she saw right through me. She looked straight at me with a serious expression. If you don't want to talk about it, I won't force you, but I'm worried about you. Lately, it seems like you're just putting on a brave face. Putting on a brave face. I'm not doing anything like that. Your father-in-law has noticed too. Both of us are worried that you are pushing yourself too hard. Mother-in-law, at the end of the day, I might be the one to blame for upsetting my husband over the issue of income. But on the other hand, I felt a bit lonely that he couldn't rejoice in my success. The fact that my in-laws noticed my struggle and showed concern made me so happy I almost cried. I decided to tell my mother-in-law the whole story. After hearing everything, my mother-in-law rubbed my back and spoke apologetically. I didn't know such a thing happened. I'm sorry. He is not good as a man if he can't honestly celebrate the hard work of someone he loves. It's my fault. I assumed without asking that John would be happy about my success. It's nothing for you to worry about, Sophia. But if we interfere, things might get more complicated. Complicated? I didn't mean to. That's why I think you two should have a proper discussion about this. Do you think you can do it? Yes, I'll be fine. Thank you for listening, mother-in-law. My mother-in-law gave me a warm smile and gently stroked my head. My in-laws treated me just like their own daughter, and they were my salvation from the bottom of my heart. Taking my mother-in-law's advice, I decided to have a proper talk with my husband. That night, after my in-laws had gone to bed, I waited for him to come home. But no matter how many hours passed, there was no sign of him. Normally, he would be home by 10 p.m. at the latest, but it was already past 11 p.m. Why is he so late? I wondered, growing more anxious with each passing minute. There was no reply to my messages either. Could something have happened? Worried, I called him several times, but there was no response, only the sound of the phone ringing. After worrying and waiting for an hour, it was past midnight when he finally came home. "Welcome home," I greeted him, despite my concern. My husband heaved a big sigh and wore a displeased look on his face. "What? Why are you still up at this hour?" "Why? I was thinking of having a proper talk with you, John." "Talk about what?" "Ever since I brought up the topic of my salary, we've been like this, haven't we? I didn't think much of it then, but I might have hurt your pride, John." At that moment, a chill ran down my spine. My husband was glaring at me with a cold expression. I was so terrified that I couldn't find my voice. As if scorning my fear, he calmly threw out his words. "There is nothing I want to discuss with you. Now, waiting up for me to come home is just creepy." "Creepy? I just want to build a better relationship with you, John, as a couple." "That's what's tiring. I'm seriously thinking I might have chosen the wrong person to marry." "Don't say that. Enough already. I'm tired from working overtime. Don't talk to me so casually when all you do is laze around at home." He brushed past me and headed upstairs to his room. Somehow, I couldn't move from the spot until the sound of him going up the stairs faded away. Why would he say such a thing? All I want is a normal married life. Even though my mother-in-law encouraged me to talk to him, nothing is resolved. Seeing his attitude, I don't have the courage to propose another talk to my husband. I felt as if everything about me was being denied, and it hurt. Even after 2 months, there was no conversation with my husband, and the days just passed uneventfully. Then one day, my husband disappeared. Looking around his room, I found it empty, devoid of his belongings. I suddenly felt something was off. Was John's room always this clean? My husband was not exactly known for his tidiness, but his room was unusually neat. There were hardly any clothes in the closet, and his suitcase was missing. That's when I finally realized he had left the house. I hurriedly tried to contact my in-laws, but I couldn't reach them. Maybe their phones were off. Just as I was panicking, not knowing what to do, I got a call from my younger sister, Isabella. "Ah, big sis, it's been a while." "Isabella, sorry, I can't talk right now." "Your husband, he's not there, is he?" "What? How do you know that?" "Because I'm with your husband right now." "What are you talking about?" "At first, it really was a coincidence. I randomly met your husband at a bar. We had a drink together, and I heard things were not going well between you two." "Isabella, don't tell me." "I'm dating your husband. We're going far away to get married, so don't get in our way." "Going far away? Stop joking around. Bring John back right now." "Sorry, but I can't. Actually, I've been interested in your husband for a while now. He's tall and handsome. So sorry. I'm taking your husband." She abruptly hung up the phone. No matter how many times I tried calling back, she didn't answer. I called back, but my sister wouldn't answer. Instead, she sent me a bunch of photos, about a few dozen pictures. Some showed them next to each other, others on dates. It was unbearable to look at. A few days later, I received divorce papers from my husband. When I called his company, they told me he had already resigned. At this point, it was not a problem I could solve by myself. I decided to talk to my parents and in-laws about the situation and ask for their advice. "It seems that John and Isabella have eloped," I explained. "He quit his job without telling me, and he apparently wants to divorce me." Once I finished telling the story, everyone present was lost for words. In the midst of this, my father-in-law was the one who finally spoke. "Sophia, I'm deeply sorry about my foolish son. I don't expect you to forgive him, and you don't have to." "Father-in-law, I don't know how to say this. But I can't forgive Isabella either. To me, you were like a daughter, Sophia. I can't forgive them for hurting my precious daughter." At those words from my father-in-law, both my mother-in-law and my own parents nodded in agreement. It was at that moment that all of us changed our opinion of them by 100 degrees. Apparently, my in-laws had been considering moving due to the aging of their house. "We don't want to have anything to do with him anymore," they said. With this incident, they decided to move and keep their new location secret from their son. On the other hand, my parents decided to cut ties with my sister. Even if she were to come back, we would treat her as a stranger and never allow her in the house again. "Someone without morals who would steal her sister's husband is no longer our daughter," my father and mother declared. I decided to take this opportunity to move back to my parents' house. I demanded alimony for my husband and sister as a condition for submitting the divorce papers. "I'll pay that much if I can get the divorce," my husband responded. Shortly after, several million in alimony was swiftly transferred into my account. With that exchange, I completely cut ties with my husband and Isabella. It's been 12 years since the divorce, and a lot has happened since then. My in-laws bought an apartment, demolished their house, and sold the land. As a web designer, I have gained significant recognition, and my annual income is now incomparable to what it used to be. Thanks to that, I've been able to go on regular trips with my parents and live a fulfilling life. One day, while I was busy with work, my smartphone rang. Thinking it was a work-related call, I answered without checking the screen, but that one call brought back unpleasant memories. "It's been a while, Sophia. How have you been?" "John, I'm glad you still remember your ex-husband's voice." His tone was as condescending as ever. "What do you want? It's been 12 years since we divorced and now you contact me." He let out an unpleasant chuckle. "Well, you see you're in the way, so could you leave the house within 10 minutes? "Huh? What are you talking about? We're strapped for cash, so we're on our way over there. I'm bringing my wife home, so you need to leave my parents' house." It seems he still assumes that I'm living with his parents. After 12 years, he believes that enough time has passed for him and Isabella to be accepted. In the background, I could hear my sister agreeing with him. "Yeah, get out. These guys really don't know anything. Do they think they will be forgiven just because 12 years have passed? The world is not that forgiving." I took a deep breath, gathering my resolve, and told them, "Feel free to come back. I am no longer at your parents' house." "Really? Did you get kicked out by my dad or something?" John's voice sounded shaky and anxious, as if they had just arrived at where his parents' house used to be. "What the hell is this?" he cried out in anguish. I continued mercilessly. "Right after you two eloped, we decided to cut ties with you. Your parents moved away a long time ago, and my parents disowned the woman with you. In other words, there is no place for you to return to." "That's a joke, right? I can't believe it," John protested. "Believe it or not, it's up to you. Neither your parents nor mine consider you family anymore. You're not worth being family with, scamming and trampling over people's feelings." "That's terrible. We're family, aren't we?" "Who trampled over the feelings of that family? Don't ever contact me again. I'm not going to let you interfere in my life anymore." I hung up the phone after finishing my words and blocked their contact. This time, I had finally severed the last ties. Afterward, they couldn't find their in-laws and visited my parents' house while I was out. But my parents had already disowned my sister. To my sobbing sister, they repeatedly asked, "Who are you?" and drove her away from the gate. Then the two of them knelt down in front of the entrance. "Please, Dad, Mom, forgive us. We have nowhere else to go," my sister pleaded. Upon hearing her plea, John also joined in. "I beg you, our family home is gone. We have nowhere to go back to." "You are no longer family or anything else," my father declared firmly. "Get out." Persisting in their plea, they became a nuisance and my father eventually called the police to remove them. Since then, they haven't been seen. Jobless and desperate, they begged their friends for money. However, their reputation had already spread, and no one was willing to help. In any case, survival in their hometown became almost impossible. They had no choice but to struggle from scratch in an unfamiliar land. However, they brought this upon themselves. They sowed the seeds of their own destruction, and I hope they live with regret for the sins they have committed. Neither my parents nor I will ever entertain the thought of seeing them again.